All right, welcome back to ATTV. Wait, ATTV. Yeah, that's right. We've got A, and M, and S, and baby C, and I'm T. And we're talking about parenting. This is going to be a very loaded. And what's this song?
Bluey.
Bluey. Here, let's put that up here. I don't know what this is.
Your kids are too old for it, that's why.
Apparently. Oh, they just say Bluey?
No, it was Mom.
That's the,
Dad.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so
you missed
late.
it. You were talking over it. It's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
okay.
put Baby Shark on because I've heard that episode.
Baby Shark,
Baby Shark,
No, that's more.
That's so 5 years ago.
It's that's what my
Literally.
Well,
kids.
before that was what does the fox say?
Ugh.
Oh my gosh.
Is that
Yes.
a little kid song?
Meow, 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 meow.
That's a
little
My
irritating.
kids,
I thought that was
my
just a
kids
regular
were
song.
obsessed with that
It's a
song.
little irritating.
It is. It's kind of
very irritating.
pierces it.
That's really nice.
Trust me. It came out when my kids were little, and they absolutely loved it.
You
Yeah.
seem kind of angry about this.
I just don't
It's a lot of
understand how that
memories.
song
Yeah.
even became into existence.
Yeah.
I think some people were on some good drugs.
Have you watched the video?
The video is
Yeah, they were on
Yeah.
drugs.
I do not
100%.
You've never seen that video?
boy,
No.
I'll show you.
I
I
don't think so.
thought it was a kid's song, and then I watched the video, and I said, "There's no way this was intended for children." Or
No,
children.
definitely not. No, so
Let's times it up.
parenting is obviously a very wide topic. We can go, and we will probably go all over the place. This probably will be a longer podcast. We wanted to start with the ages.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So are we starting older, working backward? You want to start very young?
No,
Well,
let's start young.
we have a young one.
We have
so-
three different sets of parents where we have very, very young, like infant, toddler stage, and then like mine are 4 and 7, and you
have
have
teenagers.
teenagers over there.
The worst
So,
age.
I think the most annoying thing when it came to me having my kids to start with was everybody else that's a parent telling you everything that's going to come.
Oh.
I'm like, I already
Mhm.
know, and 17 other people tell you.
How about just start when we were pregnant? Because they're always like, oh, get sleeping while you can.
Oh.
Thank you! You think I'm sleeping better now that I'm pregnant?
Yeah,
Wrong.
you're like, enjoy this moment.
Yeah.
But then it's going to be so great when they show up. No, it sucks when they show up. You can't sleep. You can't talk to you. You never know what's wrong with it. It's brand new.
Or
Yeah.
they push, like with the breastfeeding too. I got a lot of people that pushed with that, and then with my second daughter, they're like, "You're not going to breastfeed?" And I'm like, well,
You get judgy about it.
breastfeeding
Yeah.
wasn't very successful for me.
We had a bad
Sorry.
first night. Or it was a second night.
Were you in a hospital or out?
Yes,
We were in the hospital.
Yeah.
Well, breastfeeding is hard.
Yeah, she wasn't getting going yet, and
Right.
Mm-hmm.
first-time parents, and the baby
He was dead ass asleep,
freaking out.
and
at
I
like
was
2
like,
a.m.
I started crying. I'm like, call the nurse, get us a bottle because I cannot.
Yeah, this is like the first or second night.
I'm like, I
And
can't do this.
It'll
was
eat you alive.
Yeah.
It was the first night was bad too, but the second night I think was when he was.
Mm-hmm.
You
Well,
weren't
because I was
producing anything.
C-section,
You weren't producing either.
he didn't
so
get the mucus squeezed out of him,
Yeah.
so he was like choking on mucus
Every
hour.
all night.
every
Yeah.
single hour.
It was
and
scary.
that was tough to go through.
Mm-hmm.
But doing the feeding and then doing the bottle, your first time parents, you don't really think about get him a bottle.
Right.
Right.
You're not-
Well, because you think that the misconception is, especially being a first-time mom and everything, is everybody makes it sound like breastfeeding is such an easy thing. It is not. There's
No.
a lot of food you have to take in because you have to be able to produce enough for your child, and that was the problem I was running into, is I just did not eat enough.
Right.
So because I wasn't eating enough, and babies eat quite often when they're breastfed,
Could have fooled me
That-
right now.
well, I didn't then.
Well, isn't
Yeah.
it also like the body has to also learn to start
Mhm.
producing
Yeah.
it because you're in the
and
very
it
beginning
takes
stages?
a while.
Yeah.
It took me like, my milk didn't come in till I was already home.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they were in the
How
hospital
long were you in the hospital?
3 days,
Well,
2.5 days.
2.5 days.
Yeah, you're in the hospital for a while with a
And
C-section.
and the baby also wasn't taken to another room. It was with
He was in
us.
our room the whole time.
The whole
They don't have a
time.
nursery at St. Joe's.
Yeah, there was no nursery, so we
Yeah.
had him. So we were learning literally on the first night.
Yeah, my son was in the NICU for 2 weeks.
Oh.
So they took him right up, and I ended up going up with them, and we just kind of left his mother. See ya.
Yeah.
Thanks for being here.
That
And
was a long day when he was delivered. Got up at like 4 in the morning and didn't go to bed until
No, we
11.
were up at. Oh, yeah, we were up.
Like
we were from
4.
like 3:45, 4
Yeah,
o'clock.
and then all that stress.
No.
At least for me.
Were you an emergency C-section
No.
or were you a
Not
planned?
really. It was planned.
Well, I tried. So he was breech. So I tried to get a version done. where they like push them from the outside, and I could not do that. So I'm like, just cut them out because
She
I'm
tried
tired.
twice.
Yeah.
It didn't
See,
go.
I was in an emergency because my water broke, and we were 7 hours into labor, and I wasn't dilating past 4 centimeters. And then she went into distress. So they did a sonogram. They found she was breached. They're like, we have to prep you for an emergency C-section ASAP. I was so scared too because the epidural is no joke, and they say that it is proven that women have chronic back pain after epidurals because your body is really not supposed to be having that in it.
Right.
But it's no joke to go through such a serious, and that's like an extensive surgery, and you're walking that same day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then taking care of a child.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, ours wasn't an emergency. It was either we get him turned around for a natural birth, or he's just going to come that
That's
day.
extremely painful to do that.
Oh, it was.
And I'm surprised your doctor pushed for that because there's a lot of complications that can happen with that.
I didn't even have that much amniotic fluid either, and they still were like, well, you can try it. I'm like,
no, that was kind of dangerous of them to suggest that.
Yeah.
It was painful to watch. I'm helpless there sitting next to her. I was incredibly stressed
I was squeezing
out.
his hand.
I was
you
incredibly
just kind of
stressed out.
stand there.
Yeah.
I had no idea what to do. There was nothing I could do, and I could see my wife in absolute agony trying to turn this baby around when he was already full.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were doing it longer too. See, I don't have that experience because we had to fly both times to the hospital. The first time my son was born in like an hour and a half. I mean, it was quick. And then when they had my daughter, they warned us. They're like, you have to be ready because you'll be lucky if you get to the hospital. And we weren't that far away.
No.
I've never sent a Tundra over curbs like I did that day because we got barely in the door and she was already starting to go.
Yeah.
Why?
My babies shoot out like rockets.
Yeah.
No, she
I don't
just
know what it
pushes
is.
kids out. Some women have children fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really fast.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
she's like, after the second one, she's like, I wouldn't do that again.
He was 7 pounds 14 ounces. I can't believe the water didn't break when they tried to turn him because he was only 3 days from his due date.
Yeah.
3 days early. And I was surprised his water didn't break. He was almost 8 pounds.
Right.
So, but that was
I'm surprised they didn't break it.
Yeah.
That I'm surprised about because usually they try to. With my second one, I was in the hospital for over 24 hours in labor with her, and they tried to let me go naturally. They put the stuff in to help increase your contractions and all that, but they didn't want to break my water because I wasn't dilating, again, past 4 centimeters. I can't have a kid naturally. I have to have C-sections because I just don't dilate. My cervix doesn't thin out like it should. And I tell you what, I was miserable. I couldn't eat in case they had to do an emergency C-section, and they were trying to push me through until my scheduled C-section the next day. It was terrible. I hated it. I was very cranky to those nurses. I feel sorry for them.
All I know is that when we scheduled that day, I wanted him that day. I did not want to go another day of waiting.
Well, because we were originally supposed to try the Friday before, which was
June 2nd.
6/2/22.
It was and you came 6/6/22. I'm like, I'm not having a 6/7/22. I'm having a 6/6.
You're right. You're gonna make it happen.
He's a wingnut.
Yes, I had to have that.
Something with numbers.
Yeah, it's a cool birthday.
Sense. I get it.
It's a cool birthday, and I was like, but I didn't want to wait another day. I was like, this is too stressful enough for one full day in the hospital.
Don't wear on after a while.
Better come today. So it happened.
And now there he is.
There he is.
And then
sleeping.
you adjust so quickly to not getting sleep and being new parents.
Oh my gosh,
I honestly think the most painful part for me was that people just wouldn't shut up with their advice. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, like I didn't ask.
And I will tell you this. This is the one story that I want to make sure I get done early because it literally just bothers the hell out of me. So when we had my son, they say you're supposed to have, a week or two where it's just you guys, child, and you kind of figure it all out, right? Well, probably 3 or 4 days after you get back, all of a sudden, my ex-wife's mother's best friend flew into town, and they had nowhere to stay, and apparently they wound up with us 3 or 4 days after we had my son.
Wow.
Yeah. See, that's the look, right? I went off, which I shouldn't have probably done on my postpartum ex-wife. But I was like, they need to be out of this house. Well, they ended up staying there. They were going in and out of the house, and I'm trying to worry about the baby. And I'm really weird about like house security, even before he was there, just because of the area that she was in. And I couldn't handle it. Like, I'm just like, the door's open or shut. Sometimes we go back, the doors are like unlocked. I can't do that on top of trying to balance the new baby.
Mhm.
So people don't even think, like they
Right.
don't think about what this is a big change for someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and you need
stay
that
the hell out of your
adjustment period.
space.
We had kind of the same thing too. It wasn't like no one was staying over, but people were coming over.
People were coming.
Yeah.
I told myself, no, I'm gonna wait. But then his mom was already up, and I'm like, I would feel so bad telling her she's not allowed to come up because my mom came to the hospital to see him, and I'm like,
So your sister.
and my sister, and
But-
I would have
yeah.
felt bad if they didn't get to see him right off, and I'm like,
Right.
We came
But see,
home. My
that
dad
I
was at
can
my
do.
house.
I
yeah, we
think I
came home
could
and his
deal
dad
with
came
that.
right over. I'm like, I
Right.
just
Well,
need
that
five.
might be a little much.
I just need 5 minutes.
That I was okay with. I was totally fine with the grandparents seeing the baby for the first time. It was all the extra.
Well, yeah.
I-
See, the
it
immediate
was
family I
really
can
too
see.
early.
Maybe not right when you get home.
Right.
But I mean,
Right.
for a short stint, I get that. But why are their friends
Yeah.
or distant cousins coming over? Like, get some time.
Yeah,
Say,
a little bit
you
of
know,
time.
See, I had all of my ex-husband's immediate family there, my mom and my dad.
Mhm.
My brother was over, he was at boot camp.
Mhm.
So he didn't get to meet my daughter till she was 6 weeks old. But I did not allow any of my friends, nope. I
Yeah.
had a whole bunch of people that wanted to see her. I did not allow anybody to see her till she was a month old. I wasn't going to risk the chance.
Yeah.
But I had my mom at the hospital, my dad at the hospital, and then my ex-husband, his mom, and then his 2 brothers and sisters. And those were the only people that were introduced to my daughter for the first month of her life.
It stunk with us because you're literally only allowed to have one visitor per day at the hospital.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the
Yeah.
whole COVID,
Mhm.
new
With the whole COVID
crap,
thing, it was
yeah.
one person per day.
Yeah, I
And
was
it's like-
lucky with that.
and it's like a max of like 4 people on a list
Yeah.
that were allowed to
You get
rotate
and
once a day. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only in there 2 days. How
Yeah,
many people
it's
can
true.
really come and visit?
It's true, but if you
Yeah.
if you wanted to come as a group or something like your mom or your
Right.
sister or something, that could not happen.
Right.
So it was,
But
and,
see-
and they were only allowed to stay to a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
there's
leave.
always
Yeah.
only visiting hours.
Yeah.
So.
But
that's true,
but see,
so.
and you're talking about childbirth, right? So my daughter got ran over by my dog. Okay, so when I still lived in the old place, we were out back, and the kids were all running around, and my daughter was running around the backyard. My dog's very good with the kids. He's a big German Shepherd, and he wasn't really watching where he was going. Ran down my daughter. Okay, we had to have an ambulance come because she blacked out and she stopped breathing. So I brought her back, and the ambulance came, and I sent the kid to the hospital. So then my ex-wife, the girl I was seeing at the time, and myself were all at the hospital. And they would only allow us to rotate one person. So it would be my ex-wife would go up, then I would go up.
Mm-hmm.
Then the girl I was seeing at the time wanted to go up and see her. Because, so it was an interesting circle. Not only because when I was up there, my ex-wife and the girl I was seeing at the time got to sit in the lobby together.
Right.
But, both parents couldn't be up there with the COVID rules. And then my favorite part was when I was at the house, a day or two later, and I got slapped with the bill, which was $2,700 for a short ambulance ride.
Yeah.
But thanks to Blue Cross Blue Shield, they just signed the check and paid that off, but
yeah.
it's expensive.
Yeah.
And the hospitals will just boot you right out of there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want you there. And then when you're there, they only give you one person. They give you a runaround, and then they send you a $2,000 bill for anything.
For
They didn't even do
a
anything.
pill of Tylenol.
Yeah, that's what they do. They go in, and I'm like, look, just make sure that we don't have her stop breathing again.
Yeah.
That's it. That was it.
How old was she?
3.
3 years
two,
old.
2 or 3.
2
Yeah.
or 3 years old.
Yeah.
Did they even have an idea of what happened?
Yeah. She got mowed down by a German Shepherd. I mean,
No.
like freight trained.
What stopped her breathing?
They don't. They had no idea. They just chalk it up to mysterious causes, like they do everything else.
Mm, very broad.
Yeah, they just
Yeah.
leave it open so they can't get sued.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
But
So that was our little story with him. And do you guys want to go roll a little forward of early parenting? Of,
that would be
Well,
you.
yeah.
You would
Well,
start up there.
Huh? What?
Well, you have the teenagers, so now you get to. You're the first one that went through having children, so you
Oh,
get to
yeah.
start.
Well, it changes a lot with the times, though, too.
Oh,
So
that's
because
true.
we didn't have a lot of the stuff people have nowadays. Like when I first had my youngest, I had to manually pump, which was, and a lot of jobs didn't go for you pumping at work. Like you had to try to manually pump your milk out in 15 minutes on your 15-minute break. That's not enough. Like, I got so engorged, it wasn't even funny. It was actually quite
It's a
painful.
weird word.
That's the word.
It's
It's
really
such
what
a
happens.
strange word. It's
It
like
does.
But
moist.
yeah, I actually had to go to my store manager at one point because I got WIC and I couldn't afford an electric pump.
But the point was, it was inconvenient.
Yes, it was
Yes.
inconvenient. Where
So-
now women can take as many breaks, but it seems like some jobs accommodate for them to go pump every 2 hours.
And they have a
if
room.
need to. And they
Yeah,
now
that's-
have pumps that you can put on your boobs and you can walk and do your job and it just pumps you
Yeah,
out.
it's awkward
Some-
though, depending on how you like.
I don't-
Like
I had
for
a
my
fr-
job, if I had that, if I answer the phone and my boobs were just going week, week,
Oh my God.
week, it would be a little weird.
It's like,
Ironically
No.
enough,
No.
I worked with a girl that had that one day. I
Well,
was
it's
like,
inflate,
is that
deflate.
her making
Yes.
that noise? And then finally I was like,
why is it blowing
Right.
out the engine?
Yeah.
I was like, what is that noise? And she goes, oh, it's my pumps. And I'm like, what? And then she just goes and pops the thing out. It's full of milk. And I'm like, what? And she was like, oh, yeah, I can do my work. This is so easy. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I probably would have been so much better at breastfeeding if we had this back when I
Right.
was breastfeeding.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't work for everybody.
Did it look,
Right.
No,
their
it
pump
doesn't.
look like one of those that you pump a basketball?
No, it's like my hand pumps
So you did-
with the squeeze.
Yeah,
like-
but the one I had, you had to be like this.
Right.
Okay.
And it
No,
was
you were a
so
pro at it.
exhausting. Oh,
It makes total sense why it worked for you.
but it was exhausting to do it. But
Time consuming.
in maternity leave
I can only imagine.
wasn't like it was then either.
Sweating
You
all
got
the time.
8 weeks with a C-section, 6 weeks with a natural birth. Nowadays, most companies do bonding time with the baby.
Oh, we don't.
Yeah,
No.
I had to
and
take my
think-
own sick time
I think that's ridiculous
For how long,
because
The whole
for the
summer.
whole thing. I had
There
to
was
take
no-
my own sick time.
my
How did
job allows bonding time.
What is bonding?
So we have people that take 5 months off after they have babies and they get paid. They get a disability for it. New York State disability or something like that pays for them to have bonding time with their children.
Dang.
But then I found out that people that work for schools and stuff like that don't get bonding time.
No.
I was
no,
like,
we
No.
don't
that's
even get. I didn't
ridiculous.
even get a maternity leave. I had to use all of my own sick time.
She used 5 years worth of sick time.
5
Why
years I
didn't
built.
you
I
get-
have 13 days left.
Why didn't you get maternity leave?
You don't. I
You
don't.
There
don't.
was no
you
option.
don't get
Really?
that through public school.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No,
I-
we get every other benefit.
I disagree.
Right.
Gotta admit,
I got
we-
the most
Yeah.
best insurance in the world, but
Yeah.
I didn't get any maternity leave.
No.
I didn't
That
pay
is
a dime to
ridiculous.
have him, but
I feel
didn't either.
everybody should have
Well,
maternity leave.
yeah, but
My
should and what
stepbrother
happens?
got 6 weeks of paternity leave through
Yeah, we-
upstart.
I
Our,
was-
our
isn't
cousin just got 3 months.
3 months.
Mhm.
3 months.
Yeah, no, I didn't get anything like that.
Yeah.
I was also, for my son, I was also just getting out of my one job before I started
Right.
out there. But with my daughter, no, it was,
Yeah.
I think that it was like a week or two of vacation I had to take.
I had to take 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I had to
I
take 2
took-
weeks of vacation.
I
I was
took
back to
2
work.
weeks. And it ultimately was like a lot of time in NICU. It wasn't even
Yeah.
a lot I had home time.
Yeah.
They gave me a variance, though, because I was pretty peeved
I didn't
about
even
it.
qualify for that.
He used his to hay.
Attaboy.
What?
Didn't you use your vacation time to hay part of it? Weren't you haying for
Well,
part
he
of
probably
it?
went
No.
crazy. I mean, the thing is, I went crazy after we got back.
I
So
think
like
maybe
what?
we
Yeah,
got
I
there.
can't sit still, and there's nothing you like on my end. You might have had a different experience, but like with me, when they're this young,
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with them. So I was going nuts. He just sits there. I can't
Well,
do anything.
'cause
She's
all
doing
they-
everything.
All they do is sleep and eat and poop.
Yeah.
Well, right, and she's tending
Mhm.
all the time because of the milk.
Well, I would
And
say
then the
that,
guy, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
I think that was the most frustrating part with me as well. Is on top of that, he just didn't want me. Period.
Yeah,
Just didn't
Mhm.
want me.
Yeah.
And
Well, he would have laid with anyone at that point.
at that point,
At
it's,
that-
it's when they got to like a month or two.
When he got to like 2 months, he knew I was mom and
yeah,
I want
Yeah,
mom.
that was it. It was I want mom. Period.
Yeah.
And that
Oh,
was it.
see.
And that was frustrating.
My ex didn't really have any, like, he would hold her, but he didn't really have any interest in changing diapers or doing it. So I did it all.
He changed the
He-
first diaper.
yeah,
I was
he-
I was-
actually like
there you go.
super
Yeah.
thankful.
Yeah,
I
he
did
had
the
no
first
problem
one.
with that. I do have to say, though, like, we had made a plan that he would start getting up with her during the night once I started work because I worked and he didn't. So I was like, all right, you're going to be getting up with her at night or we'll rotate. And the first night that he was supposed to get up with her, she slept through the whole night at 2
Oh,
months
really?
old. And I was like, you've got to be shitting me.
We also
Because
made,
I was the
we
one
also
getting up
made
with her
that
every
plan
few
too,
hours.
but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can't really do anything when all he wants is a boob.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, you can try.
You
There
can
is-
totally
And I have
they got those
got
fake
enough to
boobies.
try.
I know,
Like,
I'm
there's nothing I can
considering
do.
it.
Just
Yeah.
go back to bed.
No.
There's nothing I do because he's just gonna scream. And,
Yeah.
I'm probably jumping the gun here, but the first 6 months was kind of frustrating. I felt like I was almost helpless in a lot of ways. Besides changing diapers, nothing really I could do that really help because he didn't want me at all.
I can agree with that.
Push away. Now, because he's 9 months old, I would say the last 2 months it's been a different change because he's starting to develop more and grow, and now he knows I'm dad, I'm around.
Yeah.
He's getting a little more independent.
So, I mean, I don't think dads really. I mean, they're involved, but are they really involved up till you get to 6 months to a year?
Well,
I don't
the
know.
problem-
Well,
was
our
I-
cousins is.
Well, I felt
He watches her.
Yeah.
I felt technically guilty. I didn't know what to do in those first 6 months.
Sure.
I didn't know what to do. I felt guilty about that. And
See,
it
but
was
that's the
tough.
thing, though, right? So, guys, at least I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but we can be there and watch them, and mom leaves, but that it only works out when mom's gone.
Right.
Like the baby will only respond to you
Yeah.
when mom's gone, and baby doesn't sense the mom.
Mhm.
Right? Once mom's there,
You don't
you
exist.
don't matter.
You
Yeah,
don't exist.
you're.
Yeah.
But you have to remember, the baby is inside our womb. The baby is familiar with the sound of our voice, and they are familiar with your heartbeat.
Mhm.
So you have to understand, when we
Mhm.
lay the baby on our chest, they're familiar with that noise. That's what they heard while they were growing in the womb.
Yeah.
So-
I just don't want any beef of saying you're not doing enough.
Yeah.
No, I mean you're gonna get that anyway.
Yeah, I
it's
just
a
don't
losing
want.
battle.
I just don't want the beat of that.
There's
that,
then
like,
one
you're,
night
you're
when
not
you don't
helping me
sleep
enough.
and you're mad because
Well, yeah,
that's-
there's nights where I'm like sitting on the couch with him and he has not stopped crying for an hour and a half, and he's in there snoring, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna punch you in the
Yeah,
like
it's
punch you in the
just-
nuts or
It's
something.
luck of
I
the
did come
draw,
out the
I
other night though. I
suppose.
did take him.
He
I
did.
did sleep-
He
did
did,
sleep.
and he let me go
Yeah.
to sleep, and
Yeah.
But
it's
your
getting-
moment to shine too is when he gets older. Because
Yes.
I will say, being from an infant to a teenager, fathers have more of an active role and are more authoritative as the child gets older.
Mhm.
Because the mom can tell the kid to stop doing something and the kid will keep doing it. I don't know why. And there'll be terrors for the mother, but then the dad will be like, knock off your shit. And they just like, what? And they behave. And then the mom's like, are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Like, I birthed you. I breastfed you. I did all this stuff and you're not listening to me. Your dad looks at you and says one goddamn thing and you do it.
Yeah.
It used to frustrate me so bad because my girls would be doing something and I would say, knock it off. And then their dad would say it and they would knock it off. And I'd be like, are you freaking kidding me right
It's
now?
just gotta be the
We
boys.
we were the same way growing up, and it wasn't anything intentional or anything like that. But yeah, we responded to dad a lot
Mhm.
quicker than mom. We did.
Yeah.
Well, mom was a pushover. I'll be straight. Mom's a
Moms are a
pushover.
pushover.
Mom,
Or
mom
some,
like
sometimes
way a lot more.
sometimes moms also can be a little more emotional.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't
Yes.
mean mine from like all moms or anything like that. It's just that's how I've always. Seems like there's a pattern there.
Right.
The ones running that problem seem to be
Yeah.
moms that are
We also get that.
they don't want to deal with it.
We also get that thing of wait until dad gets home.
Yeah,
That's,
not,
that's what his was.
yeah,
that-
that's not always a good thing
No,
though,
it's like
because
what-
then the mother seems like she has no authority, and the kid picks up on that.
Yeah.
Well,
So-
I'm in my room, waiting the next 45 minutes to an hour before dad gets home. I have no idea what's going to happen.
right.
And it straightened me up because I knew I'd get in trouble. But that's what she said. Dad will take care of it. So
Yeah, that's some
but
truth to that.
yeah, but I will say though, like I would say at least last month, he's only 9 months old. I have a lot more interaction with him.
Well, they get funner as
he
they
get-
get older.
He gets
Yeah.
more fun. He's now crawling and he's able to explore more. I think his independence is coming. And when I go down there, he now at least he smiles and he knows me, and it's not like he's looking for mom all the time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely different now, and I'm definitely
It's a little more
interacting with-
balanced.
Yes, it's more balanced, and I can interact with him much better
He
now.
used to look through Matt when he he would look through Matt to see me.
Yes. Oh yeah. And that's where most of our fights came. That's where most of our fights came
Even
because
one very small facet that caused fights.
well, it would be like
We don't have fights a lot.
Sam would give me the baby, and she would have to go and do something like in the kitchen or something like that, and he's
Screaming.
screaming,
Mhm.
and I'm trying to tone him down and relax and
And
everything like
I
that,
would
there's
give him a
nothing.
suggestion, and he'd be like, I don't know what you want me to do. I'm like,
Or I'd put him on the floor saying, "You just cry it out right here." And
yeah.
I just put him on the floor.
See,
and
I'm
gone.
completely for cry it out.
Yeah, I
Other
would
room,
put him down.
contained, let him go.
I can't do that.
You have to. You have to walk right out. You have to, because my kids nailed it.
Though.
My kids nailed it out. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to sit there and contend with you, because then the rest of your life, you're going to whine and cry, and that means I'm going to give you attention when you do it. I'm not doing that my whole life. I'm not going to give you attention every time you're whining and complaining. It's just maybe I'm cold for it.
Well, at this age, he's not going to really remember.
No, but I feel
but
like
as he gets older, then definitely.
It sets the stage.
See, I tried to do that 2 or 3 months old, and you were so mad at me when I would try to do that.
Yeah, 2 to 3 months old.
But
he does not know any different.
Day one, I put him in there. He's never spent. Neither of my kids have spent one day with us. None.
Oh,
not a single day. Started right from day one. Went into the crib in another room. Shut the door.
No. He's not talking about sleeping.
Oh, what are we talking about?
He's talking about if he is upset because he's hungry or he pooped. If Matt hasn't checked the diaper and he's screaming, crying, and he'll just be like,
well, you'd have to check the big. You have to check the big three.
Yes.
No, I checked the diaper and I tried to feed him. You were out for a while doing your job, and I was home taking care of him at 3 months old, and I did do those things, and I could not get him to stop crying for 4 hours straight. So I threw him. I put him in the crib because I could not do anymore.
But then, in my mind, I think if you put him in the crib, he's going to associate crying it out in the crib as a bad thing.
But you just agree with him.
But that's.
So you just agree with him saying, "Oh, okay."
Well, now wait a minute. We're talking about two different things. We're talking about crying it out to sleep, right?
Yeah.
So if a kid wakes up in the middle of the night, all right, the kid goes back down. You check him, clean diaper, fed. There was something else. Whatever, it doesn't matter. So there's two. All right, so there's two things, right? Or you get wrapped up in the blanket, gets around their face. That might do it too. Smother. Okay, and like in that situation, you're good. You're shutting the door. You can whine all you want. See you in the morning. We're gonna go back to sleep. What you guys are talking about is if he's sitting in the middle of the floor and you get really tired of him, right? You then go set him in another room. You're saying not to put him in the crib because of the association.
Right.
You don't care about the crib. You're just talking about getting the space before you strangle someone because you're so tired and exhausted, so you have to set the baby somewhere else, which I do agree with.
Right.
And I agree with you because of the association.
But I even did it where she would get mad at me even if I just put him down on the living room floor.
She's your wife. Yeah. She's going to be mad at you no matter what you do. And I mean, it doesn't matter.
And I would yell back. And I would yell back because my patients were gone.
Well, that's why. So yes. So Jen, my ex-wife, and I would never argue about it. Yeah. Well, you know what? She can be famous.
Well, there it is.
Would never argue about it. Any part of it really, except for that piece that you guys are talking about. Because I have to say, I agree with you as a father that if you need, it's more of you needing the break than the kid bothering you so much. You just get tired and you're like, I can't take it anymore, and I can't. The kid will eventually stop no matter what.
Especially now, everyone is different. Especially like if you have an issue with loud noise over a period of time. Yeah, that's where you need to break, and everyone handles that differently. I so happen to have a limit, and I know that. Yeah, and I know that, and I need a little space, and that's when you're not harming the child.
The kid is safe.
His kid's safe. You're not harming him, but
he's just mad.
I needed a little time to just breathe and kind of just recollect my thoughts,
which is much better than you trying to deal with the kid as a father. I'm telling you right now.
Squeezing too hard,
because that's
what
you're
yelling at them, or you don't shake them. But
they make you. Well, you guys should know. They make you sign the thing about shaking.
Yeah, you watch a video.
And you watch a video. And they're like, listen, if you're even close to that point, shove the kid in the closet somewhere. Yeah. Make sure he's out of sight, out of mind. Breathe. Yeah. Then
shove the kid in the closet.
Well, that's my interpretation.
They say put him down and walk away.
Well,
put him down in the closet.
I was at that point with my youngest because she would get up almost every 2 hours at night. And this was well into being almost 2 years old. She would be constantly up at night. Her father did not help. I would be the one that would get up with her. And for a while there, I took her to a daycare, and the lady at the daycare absolutely loved her because she was this tiny little baby with blonde hair, blue eyes, and would hold my daughter all the time. Well, it got to the point where if you put my daughter down, instantly she'd start to cry.
That's usually him. Yeah.
Nothing was wrong with her at all.
Yep.
And she would instantly start to cry. And I had even pulled the daycare provider aside and said, listen, I'd appreciate it if you didn't, because she wasn't like that before she went there. She was colicky if her stomach was upset, but once you got the gas out and everything, she was fine.
Mm-hmm.
This lady, in a matter of 2 weeks, got it so that my daughter would just cry nonstop if you weren't holding her. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time I was so frustrated because all I was trying to do was make dinner. I had not slept good in weeks. And I called my mom, and I was literally banging my head. I fell down to the floor, and I was banging my head against the kitchen sink cabinet. And I was just crying hysterically because all I wanted to do was just like shake her and be like, stop. Mm-hmm. But I didn't do it. My mom said, I'm on my way. I will come and get her. You're going to get a break. Mm-hmm. You need a break. And my mom did. She came and she got both my daughters because I also had a little toddler. And she took both of them. And I got some sleep for about... I think I slept 12 hours that night. The next day, she kept the baby. And, of course, my daughter did it to her, too. But
she was fresh.
Right. My mom came back, and after that, she was like, I think you need to look into another, person to do daycare for your child, which I ended up doing. And slowly, I broke her of that habit. But, yes, I left her sitting in either a playpen or I would put her in like her bouncing chair, and I let her cry it out because we were breaking that habit because it was terrible because she would cry for hours. Well, and it's exhausting after a while.
Yeah. It is.
Well, my mother always gets mad, but I legit use my dog training stuff on my kids, and it works because you can't smack your kid up. Not that you should do that, but you can't do it in their crib for your reasoning. For saying, they get they think that's their safe space, right?
Yeah.
You can't have that. So it's no different than if you punish a dog by putting him in his crate. The crate's a safe space. That's where you want the dog to go so you can keep the dog crated.
Yeah.
The same idea works. But it's like if you give the dog table scraps every night, right? Now you have people come over, okay? If you keep giving the dog table scraps all the time, then every night the dog's going to think there's table scraps and will do anything and whine and complain. You give that, then you're rewarding the bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
The same with the kids, right? If I let my son every day on the way home get a burger from McDonald's, which he would totally do anyways, he would then every night expect that. And if he doesn't get it, he'll start whining until he gets it. So in order for me to break that kind of stuff, you just have to let it go. I mean, he's going to want to complain, but he'll figure out real quick that, you're not going to get that burger. I know it's a terrible example, but...
And even at 6 and 7 years old, sometimes she would still throw tantrums, and I'd be like, okay, go to your room. Mm-hmm. You want to do that, that's fine, but you're going to do it in your room. And I literally let her cry herself to sleep because I was just like,
it doesn't make you feel good.
No,
it doesn't make you feel good. But part of the parenting is making your kid is not your friend. They are your child.
Yes.
Your only job is to prepare them for the realities.
Yeah, you're a parent first.
That's it. Parent first.
And they have to understand that sometimes certain behaviors are unacceptable. I was dating a guy that had a 4-year-old that was a terror. Mm-hmm. He was a terror. He would smack you if he didn't get his way, throw things at you and everything else. And his dad never gave him any repercussions. And then he would throw a fit. And I remember one time he started to throw a fit. I said, make him go to his room. The dad was like, what? He was like, well, he's crying in there. I said, let him cry it out. Mm-hmm. We'll get over it. I was like, don't reward his bad behavior.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why he does the things he does, because he has no repercussions when he acts badly. You just let him have whatever he wants. You throw an electronic in his face to keep him, he literally would purposely be a dick and do stuff because he knew if he messed with them enough, oh, here's a reward. Go play with that tablet.
Or I don't want to deal with you.
This.
I don't want to deal
instead
with
of
you.
being a parent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no,
it's
you need to discipline your child.
Right, but then I feel like that builds. Right?
Yes.
Because as the kid gets older, it's going to be more difficult and resistant to change.
Yes.
You can't just overnight hit a kid that's been doing it the same way for years, right?
Well, and once they get older, they just lose respect for you. Mm-hmm. Because they know that they can twist your arm and get away with it. Mm-hmm. The respect level is gone. Like, oh, you're not going to do nothing.
Yeah, there's no respect.
Well, and if you let a kid control the house, they're going to control the house, and you have no control.
That's not the way it's supposed to be. The parents are in charge.
Yeah,
but we're also talking about a way of life that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is sad. It's sad. It's becoming the rare way how to raise kids, and I'm not going to. I do not want my children to boss me around. That is not it. how
No.
I feel.
I don't even
do
want to
not.
give my kids tablets. Like, I just.
No.
Well, I was
can't.
telling him the other day, I knew a person that was raising her child, and I remember one day she was telling me about how she was starting to potty train, and the kid was 2, and she had him out in the middle of the living room in a potty chair. I don't know why. The potty chairs annoy me. Put the seat over the toilet. Teach them to go on the little bench to get onto the toilet. The potty, who pisses in the middle of the living room? It drives me insane. I don't know why. I hate potty chairs. But she literally was like, okay, so-and-so, it's time to go on the potty. And I'm like, okay. And he drops his pants down. He sits. She puts a tablet in front of him. And then she goes, yeah, he gets 1 M&M. She was like, if he pees, and he gets 2 M&Ms if he poops. I'm like, so we're teaching our child to be addicted to electronics, and then we're going to give our child a cavity for doing a basic human function.
Yeah.
I didn't do that. I put my kids on every 2 hours, and if they went pee on the potty, I was like, oh, yeah, we peed on the potty.
Right.
And if they poop, we peed on the potty. That's what I did.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they're just like, oh, we're going to reward with candy and electronics, and then they wonder why their kids are the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
I'm looking something up here.
This is not a parenting talk.
I just had something for it. This is. Oh yeah!
Kool-Aid Man?
I'm trying to do Kool-Aid Man. Ooh yeah, and I failed.
Yeah.
Ooh
I
yeah.
think so.
No, I totally agree with you. That's becoming the more simpler, easier way how to get things done around here. But it's all dealing with addictive things.
Yeah.
And it only makes it worse, and society's getting that way.
There was.
See, he's really good about, he has a schedule, and his kids are only allowed to play the video games from a set time or have screen time.
Mm-hmm.
But he's really good about it. They have to draw and clean and do all this other stuff, and they only get it for a set time. Kids need structure.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do.
Ooh, that's like
Structure and
Yeah.
routine.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Kids that don't have structure and routine, they're crazy.
They are crazy.
They're
And
all
now
over the place.
And it only builds up to like not respecting your elders anymore. You're not really supposed to talk back or talk up to them or something like that. It's about respect or anything like that. And that's kind of getting lost.
Yeah, they're very,
I don't
children
want
are
to get
very
too broad
entitled.
about that because we're talking about parenting, but that seems to be the way it's becoming.
Well, here you go. So between 18 and 24 months, screen time should be limited to watching educational programming with a caregiver only.
Bluey.
There you go. For children 2 to 5, limit non-educational screen time to between about 1 hour per weekday and 3 hours on weekend days. For ages 6 and older, encourage healthy habits and limit activities, but they don't give you a time. So there's no limit past
the 3-hour mark.
the 3-hour mark for ages 6 and older,
Right.
which is not really what I want to read right now. But
That's becoming the age where they should be going outside and
you should be.
playing.
But
and
kids
doing
don't
something.
play outside
that's-
nowadays either,
No.
too. Like, that's the thing. Like, I was listening to something the other day, and they were talking about how kids no longer,
They don't use their imagination.
they don't
anymore.
ride bikes.
Mhm.
I'm like, I remember when I was a
Only
kid,
crackheads
I
ride
loved,
bikes.
yes, only
That's really
crackheads.
it.
It's really
Homeless
sad.
people and crackheads.
Yeah,
But
table crackers.
When I was a kid, I was always out on my bike riding around.
But
I
you
loved
weren't
it.
home. You were home, right? You were out doing your thing. Your parents didn't know where you were half the time.
Oh,
You were
no,
gone.
I was always home, but I was
Yeah.
always home. I had a paved driveway. I would draw on sidewalk chalk. I would play bus, and
We
I
would
would
just
drive
go-
my bike around.
We would just go to each other. We were like one of those,
Like down the- you were
down the
cul-de-sac?
road. No, we weren't a cul-de-sac. We were out in the country.
Oh, okay.
So we had friends that were on different roads. So we would just ride our bikes to everybody's houses, and
but it was close.
but it
enough.
was close enough where you could do it. And they would just be like, "All right, don't make us come find you with the car later.
right.
Show back up by then for dinner,
Well, see,
or you're not going to eat."
Right.
My girls either wanted to always go outside in the backyard. It was hard because I worked nights, or they always wanted to go to the playground, but I was not comfortable enough with them going on their own. So I'd be like, when I wake up, I'll take you to the playground. We were lucky. For the longest time, we had one that was literally 2 blocks away from us, and they would go play for hours.
Mhm.
They would play and make new friends with whatever kid was at the playground
Well, the
and
thing
stuff
that
like
sucks
that.
is nowadays you can't even do that because you look away for 2 seconds and the kid's
Gone.
taken by some strange person.
Kid leashes.
Kid.
Yes.
Leashes.
Oh, those are
Kid
so
leashes.
funny to watch. They're walking through the crowd with their kids, and there's
It's
5
a back,
leashes.
and it's a backpack on their
Yes,
back, and you're
yeah.
like, what?
I don't know. I couldn't see my grandfather from World War II putting a, strap on us.
You hold their wrist
Yeah,
squeeze it if they
and
try to
squeeze-
pull away. You
Yeah,
squeeze it
that's
really
it.
hard. Don't you dare.
Back
Yeah.
then, you only had to say it one time and no.
Yeah.
Well, the
It was
girls,
different.
knew
If-
if they went
yeah.
past a certain distance away from me, we were leaving.
Yeah.
You pull your crap, and you're not in a good enough distance from me. All right, we'll go home now. We're done.
Right.
Like seriously, because I had two very close together, so we had to be like right on top of each other because I was not.
But what do you
messing
think
around.
about doing the alternative and just threatening you leave if they lose you? Then they'll be more apt. They know you're going to follow them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Make your kids know to follow you.
No, I did do that.
Right?
I did that in Walmart one time when they were screwing off with the racks. I took off and they freaked
Yeah,
out.
then they freak out
They
because they,
found
can't
me real
find you.
quick, but they freaked out.
And then after a while, they'll figure out, well, if mom goes,
Yeah.
Well, how do I get home? Or-
My,
I like it, right?
oldest went and told everybody for like a week straight that I abandoned them at Walmart.
Oh, jeez.
She was like, Mom,
Yes,
just
I
left.
did.
I was like, I didn't leave. I was in another aisle. You wanted to keep screwing off? Somebody would have found you at some point and brought you back to me.
yeah, it's cool.
I was frustrated. I told them like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, now we're
You get the
leaving.
hint.
Throw Code Adam out there, you're good to go.
Yeah,
Go find the kids.
You get a hint after a while.
Exactly.
I've dealt with that, so I know it works.
But then as they get older and they get into the maybe 10 to 14,
They suck at that age.
yeah.
Yeah, they get to the point where all of a sudden they don't want to go outside anymore. They want to hide in their room like a freaking vampire. They don't ever want to eat half the stuff that you make. They constantly complain about everything. They think all of a sudden that they have all these rights because that's what they see on social media.
That's what they
so-
teach in school now.
Yeah,
Yes,
they
that
think
too.
they have
That
They
rights.
too.
teach
Oh,
in school that they're
daughter-
entitled.
my daughter changed her name, and for some reason, the school district actually changed her real name in the system. And I was
Right,
like,
not a nickname. Change
Yeah.
the
So it was
real
a whole
name.
debacle when we moved and we had to switch schools because the school that she's at now couldn't get any records for her because they were going by her legal name and the other school district had her as a completely different name.
What?
And
So you
then
have to
had
watch
the
out for that.
audacity to get nasty with me when I said you can't legally do that.
Right.
I'm like, that's a nickname she wants to go by that's fine, but that's not her legal name.
Yeah.
You need to switch that back. Like, this is ridiculous. But they tell them that they have. And then the counselor cracked me up because she was like, the new counselor goes, does she go by, what pronouns does she go by? I said, she's a girl.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna
Yes.
interject those.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She doesn't get to choose that yet. I'm not trying to be mean. And maybe
She's a minor. She doesn't have
maybe
rights.
people will
Right.
get mad about
Yeah.
this, but no, this
Yeah.
Yeah.
letting them choose their pronouns and everything else, we are complicating things way further than they need to be complicated.
I
Yeah.
agree.
It does
I
not
agree.
need to be like that. You are either a man or you're a woman. You want to go have a sex change, you go do that when you're
18 and out of my
25.
house.
Right, 18
25.
and gone.
and
After I'm
as
done
far
supporting it.
yeah, and as
Yeah.
far as my
Right.
daughter trying to change her name, I refuse to call her that. I'm the one that gave birth to her. I named her a different name. That's the name I'm going to call
If
her.
she's under your roof,
She'll get over it.
it's your house, your rules. The minute she
She's a
walks out the
child.
door, do whatever you want to
And
do.
it's not even
That's it.
a unique
But don't come
name.
back.
Yeah.
Don't turn around.
Her
and say
name is
come back.
unique, but the name she wants to go by is not unique at all. And it's just
I do think it's an
teenagers suck.
interesting problem that you have.
It's annoying.
I mean, we got a girl at school who was a girl but wants to be called Toby, and it's like, Toby? That's a dog's name.
Toby, yeah, I don't.
That's a dog. Like, why would you want to be Toby?
Well, so I can't give too many details about this one due to the nature of where I work.
Yeah.
But there's somebody there who's a little bit of both sides. Very nice person, but a little bit of both. Has features from both sides.
Okay.
Definitely has one of these,
Yep.
which I'm not going to describe, but one of these, but also has colored this, very long.
Okay.
Okay, but not in a man bun kind of way. Like long.
Luscious
and
locks.
Luscious, yes. And it's an interesting in between. No idea. So I completely avoid the situation because I don't know what you're supposed to do. And I know for a fact that it's one of those things where if you say the wrong thing, they can theoretically pull you in.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the nature of my work, I don't deal with students directly.
Yeah.
I stay the heck away from them.
It's a kid. Is it a kid?
It's a student.
Okay, so maybe they have PCOS.
I don't
to
know.
cause that.
Well,
Because I have a friend who gets that.
Yeah.
She shaves, but she gets that.
maybe, but I don't know.
It could be that.
It might be.
It could very well be. But maybe she just lets it go.
Right.
Which is also weird.
Yeah, and I don't really know how that pans out.
My oldest daughter went through a phase where she wouldn't shave her armpits.
Oof.
And I told her, we're French.
They have colonies.
We're not that French. Shave your pits.
Is it true all French? Is that a real French thing?
Oh, yeah, they
No.
braid it over
I
there.
was just
Whoa.
listen,
What?
I was
Look
just
at Matt's all
I was
quiet.
being smart about it, but
sorry.
yeah. I told her we're French, but we're not that French. Shave your pits. And she fought me on it, and then she got her sister going on it. So the both of them had some hairy bits. And I was like, I told the youngest one, listen, you want boys to like you? They're not going to like you if you got more hair on your pits than they do.
Yeah.
I was like, please shave that. That's disgusting.
Oh, man.
No, we're
Well-
not going to braid it.
I don't have teenagers, but you do, and I observe
They
certain
suck.
things that your teenager
They
does.
suck.
And yeah, they suck. So I stand by the window today, and this particular teenager walks outside to throw something in the trash can. And I just happen to look because actually I was looking for you guys to arrive.
Okay.
And I see this teenager run around and then turn around and come back in pajamas, right?
Uh-huh.
Just like, pajama top, like regular t-shirt top and pajama bottoms. And running back the well-endowed, with no tie-downs, okay? Those things were all over the place, and everybody could see what was going on. In this particular
They were
teenager,
going in every direction.
they honestly, I don't know how you can maintain a full run with that. I don't know how you do it. I would think you'd fall one
I
way
was
or the other.
expecting one of them to smack her in the face.
So then, in my position, I can't say anything. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be around the situation.
Don't even
And so I
see
just
it.
kind of,
He goes to me.
you got to deal with it.
Yeah, he goes, she should really have a problem when she goes out there. I'm like, I told her to put one on. He's like, she should really have a problem.
Like, I'm not.
He's like, nobody should be subject to that.
No, and I said, that's burned in my mind now. You can't lose it. I will never look at the situation the same again. I don't ever want to go near that window over there. I don't know what I'm going to see.
Oh, he literally was sitting over here cracking up 5 minutes later, and he was like, oh, I just can't get that out of my head or
Yeah, you
something
just
like that.
can't-
And
I
I
can't.
thought he was talking about something completely different. And he was like, no, what happened over at the window? And I was like, oh.
You can't
Okay.
skip. But see, that's the teenager stuff that you're going to.
Oh, they're so defiant. And you can
They
tell
are.
and you can tell them something and they literally argue with you and then you'll be right and they know you're right and then they'll come back like, oh. They won't admit that they're wrong. They'll just be like, oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, no, I was right. I knew what the hell I was talking about. I've lived on this earth longer than you. I know what I'm talking about. So now sometimes I just let her
You need the.
do her own stupidity and then
Well, yeah.
let her learn from it.
I don't know.
She'll
Sometimes
figure
that's the
it
best way.
Mhm.
Just let life work
Let
its
them
way
fall
out.
on their face.
So,
The other,
They have to
the other
sometimes.
Let them
day,
get smacked in the face.
she
with
went
certain
to
things.
go lock the
smack
door.
my bitch up. See, the song
Yeah.
applies.
She went to go lock the door and her lanyard was in the door. And she goes to leave and it's caught in the door. Tell me why she tugs on the lanyard. I'm like, that's not going to come out. You have to unlock the door and get it back. And she was like, oh. And I was like, oh my God. Like, she gets such good grades in school, but she is so
It's the book
stupid.
smart.
Yeah, I was
Real
gonna
world.
say my best friend's like that.
Real
She
world
is
smarts.
so book smart, but when it comes to school, like street stuff,
Yeah,
she's a
and
dumb
it's not
blonde.
it's not even just her. Like, I have friends that have kids around the same age and they all tell me it's like children nowadays cannot problem solve. I don't know
No.
if it's because they don't have to do critical thinking in school anymore
Probably.
like we did, but they have no way to try to figure something out on their own. Like, they
Yeah.
don't even try.
God forbid if you're at school and you use a spare bus. It parks in the same spot every day.
Oh God,
They
yeah,
can't
they
figure
can't
out where
find
the
the
bus
bus.
is.
You're like, dude,
Right, there's numbers on it.
Same-
They can't
same-
figure it out.
same
Same
exact
driver.
spot where you, yeah.
Same driver, same spot, and they can't figure out because the number's different. It's mind-boggling. It's like you,
Yes,
You wake
get
up
on.
and you breathe my air.
yeah.
That's what I do
Yeah.
with a lot of people. How did you get this far?
They cannot even go to their same bus driver and say, "Is this my bus?"
Think
They
about
can't.
think about what that household must have been like, though, to raise someone like that.
Crack.
and they ride bicycles. At least they ride bicycles. They're not.
No, but it blows my mind that something that simple they cannot figure out. We're even talking about high schoolers.
Yeah.
Well, she's in high school. She's a ninth grader.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many times
Blows my
she'll be
mind.
like, well, how do you do this? How do you do? And there's instructions.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be like, you can read the instructions. The
Yeah.
instructions tell you how to do it.
Just
Read and do it.
Yep.
Like,
apply it.
do it.
Well, the patience is also gone. There's no patience anymore. Either.
Oh my
Well,
God, they have no attention span. That's why
No.
they love TikTok, because TikTok's at
Well,
most last
It's
3
fa-
minutes.
It's
Right.
fast.
It's fast. It's instant. They don't need to think.
Yeah.
Right.
So they're just used to the immediate attention.
But the scariest part is they're all going to be drivers soon.
Oh, God.
Scariest part is they're
That's
going to
the
run this
scariest
country
part.
someday.
Well,
Yes, that
they're going to
too.
take care of us.
They're going to be running this country
That's-
someday.
I'm
That's the
I'm
scary
wiping
part.
my ass.
Just push me in the river.
They're going to have robots taking care of us because they won't want to do
Well,
anything.
there is a scary saying that I'm scared of. There's a school in the front that says the kids that walk through these doors are the leaders of tomorrow.
Oh, you're talking about the school where we are?
And I'm just like, that's
Yeah.
a very scary
It
thing
literally
because of what
says-
you're seeing out there. Is the leaders of tomorrow is walk through this door and it's
We're
like,
oh, we're
they
screwed.
took away writing cursive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
I
don't
know.
teach cursive
They,
anymore.
don't
want
teach
digital
cursive
clocks
anymore.
now. They
Yes,
don't want
and
analog clocks.
Yes, they want analog clocks. They want to get rid of that.
Yep, they want
I'm
digital
just
clocks.
like, oh my gosh, this is so.
Do you know how easy
third
it is to
grade.
read a freaking clock?
I learned
Yeah,
cursive
I
in
know.
third grade.
Well, they're trying to simplify their end of it.
So what's considered
By-
a signature? What would be considered a
They
signature?
literally,
They
they
print.
just write their name.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
print their name.
You
So
can-
but you forge that.
Anyone can.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's
Identity
amazing.
theft will probably be through the roof by
Yeah.
the time they're adults.
I don't know if it's really going to be any different.
Well, no, maybe none of them will be smart enough to do that, though.
I know they're gonna be too smart. There's some. smart people
They're
out there.
actually they're really good
But
when it
it's
comes
like
to
this
technology.
now. Everybody was fairly level before, like as kids were growing up, right? I mean, you had some that were better than others, but it wasn't this huge change.
Yeah.
Now you have these kids that are like, it's a big jump. You either have kids that don't do electronics and
Have a huge
they're outside,
drive.
and there's a huge drive there,
Yeah.
or you have it flip flopped where the other kids that do electronics, they might be programming geniuses, but they don't have any social tact,
Right.
Mhm.
right? And they don't know how to do anything. They can't wipe their own butt.
Mhm.
Let's put it nice.
Pretty much. Oh.
They got a
can't-
bidet to squirt their butt.
They got robots to do that, yeah. So it just seems kind of scary that as kids get older, which is why with my kids being where they're at, I try to limit what they can do, but I don't blame the devices for it
Mm-mm.
because I think it's whatever they're observing on it, right?
Well, not only that, but whatever their parents are letting them do. Like, if
Right.
they let them play their game for 8 hours a day, then that's
Yeah.
on them, not
Yeah, that's
on
the problem
kid.
I had when they were very little. They went to their dad's for a summer, and every time I would FaceTime them to talk to them, they would be on Xbox.
Every time.
Every time. And they would play it almost all day long because that's what their dad does. And then I remember one time they were like, well, we did go outside for an hour today. We went out for our hour that we go out for. And I'm like, what do you mean? Well, Dad lets us go outside every day for an hour. And I made a joke and I was like, what are you guys in prison? What is that, your yard time?
Mhm.
And he did
Yard
not
time.
appreciate
Yard
that.
time.
He was really mad about that. And I messaged him. We got into a huge fight about it. I was like, it is summertime. Why are they cooped up in a house all the time? And he
Yeah.
was like, my house, my rules, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, okay, but you're only allowing your children outside for an hour. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So basically, you didn't want to watch them outside.
Yeah, no, it was easier to have them go in the room and play because they were interrupting his.
They
Video
almost will
gaming
go out.
time.
They almost go outside and don't even know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they're
And-
bored.
No.
They don't
Yeah.
have any. They don't know how to use an imagination.
When
so
they came back home, they had a very hard time with it because they were allowed to play video games all day long. Then they came back home, and I was like, "Oh, absolutely not! Like we're gonna." So they would be like, "I don't want to go to the beach. I don't want to go do this. I don't give a shit. We're going
Mm-hmm.
because it's the end of the summer, and we're gonna go do some stuff because you're not gonna sit in the house all day." Like if it's crappy weather out and whatever, it's acceptable to let them play a little bit in the winter and stuff like that. But in the summertime, not all day long. That's ridiculous.
well,
Especially when they're like 8 and 9 years old.
when you have split houses, that makes a difference as well.
Yeah.
Like with you guys being in one, there's not a change in the rules.
Yeah.
Right? When you have two separate homes, in your case and my case, you have what one person does and thinks is right, who's insanely wrong in my mind. And then you have my rules, which of course are perfect, and there's never any issues with those. But one of the big things is the screen time. So when my children come to me, they're used to having open right. They can do it whenever they want. They get up in the morning, they watch lots and lots of TV because the parental figure sleeps for a long, long time. It's just the nature of the beast. Can't do anything about it. Never have been able to do anything about it. So, a late riser. Then they come to me and I'm like, you're not touching squat. Here's your schedule and you're going to follow it. And they do very well with it. But I think it's the expectation. Because the minute that they go back, all of a sudden I get a call sometimes that'll be like, I don't understand why it's so much different between the houses. Why is it all wild and crazy here, but then you say you don't have any issues with them? It's like, I have issues with them. They're kids. They're going to give you problems no matter what you do. Outside of duct taping them and leaving them out back, I mean, they're going to be an issue somehow, but it's the difference in how you maintain your household. I guess.
And kids need an adjustment period after going from one parent to the next, because I noticed that with my girls, they were always the most difficult the first few days after they got back from being with their dad.
Then they straighten right out.
At their dad's house, they were allowed to go to bed whenever they wanted to. They ate mostly fast food, so it would always be like, I want Wendy's. No, you're not having Wendy's. You're not having McDonald's.
KFC.
We're cooking.
I mean, I want KFC.
Like, we're having dinner.
KFC is my favorite.
It's pretty good.
But that's what he did. They fed them nothing but fast food.
Yeah.
They got to do whatever they want. So when they would come back, they would be terrible for like 2-3 days. And then all of a sudden it would be great. Everything would go back to normal. And then back they'd go again. And I'd be like, oh, great.
But the age makes a difference. It has to make a difference. Because the younger kids can adapt easier than older kids, I would think.
See, I found that when they were younger, it was harder for them to adapt. It was once they got older that they finally realized that, okay, just because we get to do this at dad's doesn't mean we get to do this at mom's. Like, it took a very long time for them, like maybe 2-3 years before they finally would come back from their dad's and I wouldn't have any issues because they would just be like, oh yeah, mom does it differently here.
So how often do you guys ship baby C out to somewhere else?
We have gone out 2 times. One of them, both of them being with you, actually.
Well, there you go.
It's not very often.
We have
There's
gone out
a lot of
twice.
times we bring him with us.
Okay.
More often than not.
So how do you, when would you guys start? I'm just curious. How do you guys do your socialization? Because they need time away from the parents with other people for socialization, right?
Like, friends come over and
they just kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, he sees my mom once a week usually. He sees like my sister.
Hi, baby C. You just
Hi,
woke
Bubby.
up.
The people that he knows, he's
Good
interacts
morning.
very well with. He's got a big smile and he's very good at babysitters for the most part.
Now, I don't know how true it is because the quack of a pediatrician that my kids have, they were insistent that there's like a gap sometimes. And I don't know if I agree with it. Because, so they want, the way the pediatrician explained it, and I'm very I'm okay with disconnection. Obviously, I'm okay with the kid being separate, right?
You mean just having your own time? Basically?
No. I mean the exposure. Okay. So the child is with you, right?
Yeah.
But then the pediatrician is
he usually does.
is expecting the child to have time without the parents to learn to grow on their own in certain aspects. So then, because the parents aren't gone long, right? So they're saying an hour here, maybe a couple hours there, and as they get older, they get used to the parents not always being there.
Well,
but I don't know if I agree with that.
Well,
totally.
When we went out with you guys and everything, the sitter was fantastic.
Right,
he's fantastic with other people,
and that was late at night. Usually, he's a jerk. But he's usually a jerk at night. So
right, so that's good.
She's like, oh, he fell right asleep, and she just literally let him sleep on her chest the whole time we were gone.
I really don't. I'm not very familiar with that aspect.
She brought it up to me.
Yeah, I'm not familiar because I just don't feel like anything's to nod.
She brought it up to me because the schedule was I was a Monday to Friday during the day, and my ex-wife had a rotating 12-hour schedule. So there'd be these I would take over at night, or there'd be someone all day, and she was like, "Well, when do you have separation?" And I was like, "Separation from my ex-wife, not enough."
How old do these kids have to be for starting to have separation?
Apparently, she was talking 6 months on.
That
so not a lot.
That seems young.
It's
right now. I don't know if this counts, but she will go into the bathroom or kitchen, and I'll be in the living room, and he will crawl to her, and then he just does his own thing in the kitchen. I mean, we keep an eye on him so he doesn't get anything, but he's by himself.
Right. Well,
in the area.
Well, you got to remember too. I'm not a child whisperer, and
I
I'm
just
hearing
don't
this
know.
from the pediatrician, who could still be wrong. Okay. It's the way it was explained to me was it's not like you go to a separate room in the house because the child knows when you're around.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to be gone. Like someone else watches the kid.
We've never had issues.
Right.
Well,
So
we haven't had issues.
It's the She explained it as if it was the adaptation of the kid as growing up, so it would not be so difficult for the child to get used to the space. So let's say, for example, you were doing this is a long shot. I don't know what else to use, but like this stupid COVID teaching at home crap.
Oh,
you have to leave your kid at home later in life, right? But the kid's never had exposure to you not being there. Okay.
Like 2 years in the house with him, not leaving at all, and then going.
And then trying to all of a sudden go out
back
at
to
night
work or whatever.
and trying to do that. There's such a big jump. And the way she was explaining it was, well, if you leave a little bit here and you leave a little bit, he'll adapt and get used to the fact you won't always be there. Which I guess in that respect.
She's got some credit behind that, though, because Lena was never without either me or her father. And I would come home on my lunch break because I worked right up the road. I would come home on my lunch break, feed her, change her, everything, get her back in bed because I had an hour lunch break, go back up to my job. So when I started taking her to daycare, she was like 7 months old, and she had a very hard time with it.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where I would leave her with somebody, and she would just cry and cry and cry and cry.
We don't have that issue that much.
Well, he's still pretty young. I mean, this is like as you get older.
Like,
they're saying
starting out,
6 months,
he was-
though. He's at 9.
It starts to learn at 6 months. It's just a pattern. It's like, think of it like, you know how like when you have your kid, there's the imprint of who the parents are.
Yeah.
Right.
It's something that the kid doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
It just is instinctual.
I think what the pediatrician's thinking, though, is because there's some people that like stay with the kid all the time.
Right.
And like my Uncle Steven, his youngest child, I had to babysit his youngest child one time, and it was the first time ever. This kid was 3, first time ever being away from his mom. His mom had been with him right up until that day. They had a death in the family. They didn't feel it was appropriate to take him. I was like, oh, I'll watch him. That was the longest 2 hours of my life. That kid literally sat outside by the door. I want my mom. And that's all he did for 2 hours straight.
Well, so I never was separate from my mom because she worked at home. So going to school was a big challenge. Then when my mother would leave for an overnight, I remember I was nothing but anxiety and concern because you didn't know where she went and you were used to her being there.
Yep.
And for years, I mean, I'm talking up to 5 years old when you're starting preschool and kindergarten and you're away. They're like, oh, well, you start a half a day at pre-K. Right, but when you go from nothing and then all of a sudden you're 2.5 hours gone, 3 hours with travel time,
right?
That's a lot for a kid.
Lena
Now
had
they
a hard
have
time.
all-day pre-K.
I don't think that we've had this situation yet to be like that. We haven't really.
No,
we don't have that
after
much
3
yet.
months, I went back to work. So he's been at a sitter since 3 months old.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he'll have a good adjustment.
Yeah, he'll have a good deal then with it.
Yeah.
See, my girls were a little bit behind a little bit with social skills because it was their dad watching them.
Right.
And they weren't really around a lot of kids. So social-wise, when they started school, they didn't really know what to do because they weren't around little kids.
Well, and there's no right or wrong way to do it because every kid's different anyways.
I think everyone's got a different lifestyle.
And everyone has a different lifestyle. It's just something that caught me a little bit off guard when she goes, well, with you guys having the schedule that allows you to always have someone available, that could negatively influence your child down the road. Which, honestly, I think I got a little bit lucky on that. Because even with all that, my kids end up being okay, except for my son. Mm-hmm. My son cannot handle if I even go downstairs and he doesn't know right where I am.
I think that has nothing to do with that, though.
I disagree. I think that has a lot to do with what it is. Because I know what you're saying, because there's other elements to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that the problem was he was not used to having both people gone.
Yeah.
There's always somebody there. And I think that, it doesn't mean disappear the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's something we're going to have to face down the road. We just haven't really hit that hurdle yet.
You're early.
Yeah.
You're really early.
It's literally grams of babysitters come home and we're home for the night and repeat 5 days a week.
I'm thinking when you get to like 3.
Oh, that's different story.
You know what I mean? When you get to like 3, but anything you do up to 3 is apparently a factor as the kid ages.
Right.
And I don't know how the heck that would influence.
Well, by 3 years old, he's going to drive a tractor.
I just feel like once he is done breastfeeding, we'll go out a lot more. Just at this point, it's so hard because
Especially if he starts walking.
Well, I
When he
was
starts
bad.
walking.
I never would leave. I'd want to leave,
right.
but I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you got to be there all the time for my kids. And then I was like, well, okay, I'm not doing anything here with my kids. Is it really helpful? It's got to be helpful, being dad. And then in retrospect, she was like, no, don't do that. Yeah. Which I just thought was interesting from your kid's pediatrician, who's supposed to be the most for your kids.
Yeah.
So I was confused by that.
Yeah, but remember we were talking the other day about how I made the mistake of not really doing much and taking a break from my kids and being all about my kids. And what happened?
Yep.
They got older.
Teenagers.
And they literally, my oldest daughter really thinks that all I need is her and her sister. And that's all I'll ever need in life. And then I'm just a mom. That's all I ever need to be. I don't need to be anything outside of that. And that's because when they were young, that's the mistake I made. I worked. And then when I didn't work, I was all about them and made them everything. And I didn't really take a lot of breaks from them. I didn't really go do much without them. And when I did do stuff, it was when their dad had them. So in their mind, they were like, oh, it's all about us. And now it's having negative...
There's negative feedback because she also gets slack about, they make you feel guilty because you worked. A single mom working to make the money, and they guilt her about working. Yeah. They have no grasp of what's going on, and they think she needs to be there all the time because she used to have to be there all the time. So
it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I think as a parent, you have to definitely make sure that you have a little you time.
Yeah.
So that your child sees that it's healthy.
Also, in the marriage aspect, we need time to be just, husband and wife. We
exactly.
Never really had that
you lose your identity, don't you?
We never had that separation because we got pregnant. Literally, I think the wedding night.
You're just
TMI.
Oh, a lot of people do.
You're done.
Hey, my cousin and his wife were together for 7 years, but they got pregnant on their honeymoon. So
it worked out for a reason.
I just wing it.
We never had that separation. Like, we weren't really just husband and wife. As soon as, we got married, boom.
Well, we did for 9 months. Yeah. We did for 9 months.
It doesn't count when she's pregnant.
We're still mom and dad.
She's still pregnant. You still have to go through all of that, which
and
pregnancy is tough.
And your beginning of your marriage is tough, too. You got to make it through that first year, which is the hardest part.
We made it through 9 months.
with a child, though, it's supposed to be without the child is the first year.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be one of the hardest years. So you're doing that and with a child.
Yeah.
That's a lot of commitment.
And we're still together.
And you're still together. You're a month 9. You're a month 9.
Year 9.
Yep. No, it's
we're over a year now.
Yeah. What a year and a half.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. No, it worked out for a lot of different reasons, though. It wouldn't have traded it.
But everybody's, I don't know, that's the thing. Like, everybody's kids are so different, and they change so much, and then how you raise them is a factor, and where you raise them is a factor, and who you have around them is a huge factor. Mm-hmm. So,
well, I had that fantasy of always hoping to have a kid before I turned 30, and I was like within 2 months.
Cutting it close.
Turning 30, I made it. I did it.
Yeah, I mean, I had my son when I was 30.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think, a while ago, everybody was having them younger and younger.
Very young.
Which is probably better.
Having them young is not the way to go.
I don't think so.
I had respect to people having my young.
Before I turned 22, and that was rough.
Oh, I in a sense, give respect to those people because I would not have been mentally ready at that age.
That's where I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt like I was pretty mature, and then I had my children, and it actually helped me a lot because I got a better work ethic after that because it was like, I have to do this for my kids. I started working more hours and stuff like that, and I feel like it made me a stronger person having my kids young because their dad was kind of a deadbeat, but it also sucked too because, I'm 37 years old and I didn't get the things I wanted to accomplish before I had a child done. I have to do it backwards now. I have to do it as they're in high school and do it later in life, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I'm so tired.
But I survived.
I'm doing it at 30. I feel like now I don't know. You're trying to keep up with these younger kids, which it's a little taxing, but I feel like now I'm more mentally prepared for the older stages.
Yeah.
But
I would never want to be a brand new parent at 40, though. That would suck.
Oof.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. Yeah.
That's too.
there's
that's
people
too
that are older than
late.
that.
There,
that have
yeah,
kids.
there's people.
My ex sister-in-law had her first child at 40.
Oh,
She had her
okay.
first child.
Her first
Whoa.
child. He's the only one
Ouch.
she's having.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
He's a miracle baby.
that's
But
crazy.
40
Is
years
that what
old,
it is,
I'm
a
like,
miracle
no.
baby?
No, she lost 2 of them like 5 months
Oh,
in.
I get what you're saying.
And then it's been 10 years since her last pregnancy. When she found out she's pregnant for him, she didn't think anything of it. She didn't tell anybody until she was like 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then now she's fine, but she said she'll never have another kid. She's done.
Yeah.
One and done.
It's a lot. Every kid you shell out is another cost.
It
Yeah.
is.
And another one you gotta entertain.
Yeah,
or not
and she's
entertain,
she's a single mom, so.
but, yeah. All right. Well, we've gone 1 hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my god.
On this
we're really
subject?
good,
Just
yeah.
on this one subject.
We didn't even
Oh my gosh.
delve into a lot.
No,
of
we really
huge
left a lot of
topics.
stuff out. So we're gonna call this part 1,
Okay.
and then we can make a continuation of it.
At
but
another point in life.
We're gonna make another point in time, and we will continue this going. This will be part 1, and we'll end on Baby Shark.
Oh my god.
Is it? There it is. Baby Shark.
Oh, Jesus.
Baby
Oh, you're gonna
shark,
sing it.
Well, you need to hear it enough. You
Oh,
I'm
tend
walking
to
away.
do that. You're walking away.
I'm walking away.
It's the first time we've ended, and people are just walking out the door.
We're all over the Baby Shark song.
Oh, you're just gonna have to suck it up as parents.
We said bye.
All right.
She likes it.
She does. All right.